we're just going to dive right into the conversation today. Why? Because we're talking about marketing. If you have not listened to episode 7, that was the first part of the series that we're doing, a 3-part on advertising and marketing. And if you've been following along and you're one of those awesome fans of ours, you realize that we're on episode 8 of the series of how to build your own law firm, right? And how to build it from scratch, from the very bottom, all the way to the top. Obviously, I'm sitting here with Shane Smith, the founder and creator of Shane Smith Law. Welcome, Shane. How are you doing today, bro?
Doing well. Everybody says marketing's the sexiest part. I don't agree. I actually like some of the systems and operations stuff, but I'm a boring person is what I would say. I like numbers. I like money. I like things like that. I like systems. The creative part, I got to lean on other people, but you got to learn certainly enough that you can hire the right vendors and the right folks to help you and direct that. Otherwise, you end up with what somebody else thinks, and it doesn't tie to you. It doesn't tie to, like we talked last week about your core message or your branding or anything else. You end up with what they want. So, everybody's got to know some marketing. I spend your money wisely is what I'm going to say. What we talked a little bit last time about core messaging and avatar, things like that. What are the areas you're talking about here today in marketing? What are the areas everybody needs to sort of look at?
Well, today we're going to dive into, I want you to look at it this way, right? If you get your messaging correct, if your messaging is right, it's like you built the engine. You built the engine to your Ferrari. You got this badass Ferrari, but all you have is the engine. That engine sitting in your garage doesn't do you any damn good, right? So you have to find a way. How do I get my car out of the garage, right? I.e. this messaging out of here. And so today we're going to talk more about the machine, machine that goes into it, because you have to have a powerful, like that engine. You got to have the engine that drives it. That's going to, people need to hear that Ferrari driving down the street and be like, ooh, what was that, right? We've got the messaging side. Now we go into how do you, to master marketing, it's when you can create a system that's measured, something that's automated, and something that's repeatable, and that it works in alignment with the message. Here's the caveat I'll give you. If your messaging sucks, everything we're going to talk about today and probably any other day and any other show you listen to, if your messaging is not on point and it sucks, it's not good, nothing else will work. You will end up spending, your ROAS will be terrible comparatively to what it could be. Could you still have success? For sure. You can shotgun market, and there's a way. You can outspend your shittiness. What we want is for you to realize that, hey, let's focus on the messaging and then let's build the machine. So that's the caveat I'll put into it, because everything we talk about today, from traffic, conversion, follow-up, how to measure it, all of that, it only ROAS really works.
Trevor, what's ROAS mean for anybody who doesn't know what that is?
Return on ad spent.
Gotcha.
Right. Okay. So that's what you're. So if I spend $1 in marketing, my return had better be more than $1. Right. So this is the goal we're searching for. If my return is 52 cents, but my spend was $1, well, I've got a problem.
Yep. Okay.
Right. And see, these are some of those metrics in the measurement side of it, and we've talked about this in probably every episode. We're just wanting to wet your noodle a little bit on these ideas and really give you a chance to start into it. But we could spend a lot of time just on ROAS alone. We can spend a couple hours.
All right. So let's, I know as a law firm owner, I get pitched ads. Ad companies want me to buy ads, right? They want me to buy leads. I get pitched on SEO all the time. Those are the two big, huge ones I get hit on, right? Well, and also redo my website, right? So I say redo my website. So let's talk a little bit about ads. Where do you think they fall into the metric, or what would you tell listeners on about ads themselves? Or just something?
Yeah, so it's interesting, and I think there's a reason you're getting pitched on SEO and all of the web searches, all of those. There's a reason you get pitched on it. It's because it works. Right? Because, and now here's what's crazy about this. And this is what is really unknown right now, which is going to be kind of wild to see what happens. But because of AI and the way AI is starting to play into it, I have found myself, instead of, for example, going to Google and searching for something, I'm actually going to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And I'm like, chat, find this thing for me. And then chat effectively goes and searches the entire internet in a rapid rate, way faster than I ever could, finds all the relevant things to what I asked it, and then it shoots that to me. So that's the kind of the variable, because SEO I don't think will go away, but it's absolutely going to shift and
Well,
change.
and
So
yeah, and right on top of that, now when you type into Google, they'll come up, AI will answer, right? And it will come up with stuff. Well, we're actually beginning to track now how often AI recommends us.
right.
And we've got, and I got pitched a week ago about a company who says we can make it show up in the AI results more. So I mean, that's another thing that's coming for you lawyers out
Yep.
there, is they're going to you're going to get pitched on that. And
Yeah. And so you've got the ads, the SEO, the AI, the referrals, the partnerships. Basically, that's the very tip. One thing I'll say about the advertisement side of it is there's two different levels, right? There's the traffic you pay for, and there's the organic traffic.
right,
And there's something that I think a lot of people don't understand, and that your effectiveness in the paid spend is actually directly tied to your effectiveness in your organic. Right. So for an example, if I just do this from Facebook, right? Or if I, for any social media platform, really, right? Most people's buying patterns, they exist the following way. They see an ad from you, and this really transfers outside of social, right? They could see a billboard. They could hear a podcast. There's things they could hear about you. People's natural tendency now, their natural pattern is they want to research and find validity in you. And so their first place they go is to whatever their favorite social media platform is. And that's where they find all your organic content. So we talked last week about messaging. This is where they're going to look for congruency in the message. So my point I'm making here with the ad side of it is I want to make sure you realize that organic, although it may not have you may not have like 1 million people that see it, it may not get shared all over, whatever it is, right? But having it on those social platforms and having it current and relevant, meaning you're constantly having content put on there, that actually matters, because your conversion rate, and they've studied this in several different areas. You can go look it up. It'd be pretty easy for you to see the data on this, but you usually have a 2x return, like it's 2 times higher of a return on ad spend, which is crazy. So those who have organic and those who don't, those who have it have a 2 times better return on ad spend, the ROAS, than those who don't. So I don't want to discredit that, hey, this means, you do need to pay attention to what this is, to the organic side of it. But ads is only one part of the machine, right? Because I've got this ad side of it, and you mentioned, right, the other big pitch is websites.
right.
What are people? Why are people pitching you on websites? Like,
They're
what is
always,
that?
lawyers, we get pitched, let me run a free audit on your website, or I already ran a free audit on your website, and here's the areas we can do better, right? And everybody can do better. Undoubtedly, every vendor who you ever hire is terrible, because there's always 4 guys who can do a better job than they can. But, I mean, because everybody thinks they can have a website right now, right? And
Yep.
and you got to drive traffic to it, and your website has your messaging, and it's just one of those things that's going to show up, and hopefully it shows up really well. But videos also show up really well on searches, so I think you got to do some video as well, even if you just do a little bit. But
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of a step process, right? You've got your ads and all of that, but where do they go? So it's I don't want it all. This is why I'm like, it makes sense to people. It's blast you to an attorney and say, hey, get a better website, and there's, we can do it better, etc. And some of them are probably accurate, but that's where it leads to, right? When I run my ads, my organic traffic, all of that, they've got to come to something. There has to be some way to capture them so that they have the opportunity to raise their hand. And how much does, should I say it this way? With a landing page versus a website, there is a distinct difference. Do you see a need for both as an attorney, or is one better than the other?
I think that the benefit to the landing page, and I don't think this is round 1 for folks, right? Like, if you're just building your firm, I think if you're not careful, you're going to go down in this rabbit hole and not do anything. But I think you definitely need your website, right? Because that's got all the stuff about you. It's got your story. It's got your we put attorneys on there. We put verdicts on there. You can wander around and then you can wander away. Whereas generally a landing page is very specific, right? And it's targeted, should be targeted towards whatever your ad was, right? If you're running an ad for car wrecks and people who are hurt, I think your landing page should be about car wrecks and people who are hurt. Whereas your overall website may have some other practice areas on there, right? Instead of just car wrecks, it may be dog bites, it may be slip and falls, it may be property damage cases. All that's in the personal injury section that I do, but it might be there. Or if I were running ads, I mean, this would be super niche down, but they were running ads for trucks, right? I wanted to appeal to trucks. I could run them right to a landing page that talked about me and my Raptor truck. And
Yeah.
wow, suddenly it's a chance to bond, and everything is specific for them. And back in the day, they used to do web pages based on location, right? And or landing pages based on your website based on location, and they would run ads routed right to that. And the assumption was if they talked about people in Sonoy, Georgia, people would assume you were from Sonoy, Georgia, and they would respond better and get hired. I think that's pretty like surface level stuff, but and I think
Right.
I think today's consumer is more sophisticated than that. But that was a pitch for a long time. Uh,
Yeah.
so I think
Well, I
there's
think
definitely a
yeah.
difference.
Yeah. Well, the distinction, I think you made the key distinction, right? A funnel is necessary when you're trying to speak specifically to a specific pain, a specific problem, and you want them to take a specific action, right? So if you've got that messaging going to a specific action, maybe it's not necessarily to get them to sign up with you, but you're trying to grow your list. We
Right.
talked in previous episodes about the list. So it's like, well, how do I generate the list? What I don't want to do, and this is the most ineffective way of doing it, is to have 152 options for somebody when they land on my website.
Right.
Right? This is why we'll have the website available. You might even have a link to your actual website on the bottom of the funnel, right there in the lower kind of credits of the funnel. But really, there's one key action you're trying to get them to take, which is specific, right? You run an ad specific to a certain thing. And what's cool about that is there a limit to how many funnels you can have active and live?
No, as many as you can manage or your team can
Oh,
manage, right? But and the way I want to talk about it, the simplest is talk about your criminal defense lawyers, right? Because they can advertise specifically for one type of crime, right? Especially if you're doing jail mail. You could advertise, send your mail or whatever to everybody who is charged with domestic violence with a link, not to your general website, but a QR code, right to a landing page specifically talking about the perils of domestic violence and what the penalties are and all this kind of stuff. So somebody sees and goes, holy cow, this is scary. Versus sending them to your website, which just has, I'm a criminal defense attorney, I practice in criminal law, and I do all this stuff. So that's the easiest way for me to point it out is think about the criminal law sector and how you could pivot somebody right to the page and talk about how if you get this conviction, you could, your life is over kind of deal.
yeah.
And everything specific. Some of the DUI guys do it as well. And jail mail is an easy way to sort of visualize all of that. But
Yeah, perfect. So once you've established we've got ads running, organic and paid, we've got somewhere to capture them with a good call to action, right? Whether it's just give me your email address, whether it's call me, whether it's come into the office, whatever that call to action is, you got a specific call to action. The big part that gets missed a lot is what's the follow-up part of the machine.
oh yeah,
Right, as we build on that follow-up side of it, it's like, okay, well, what happens? Because there's a certain amount of leads you're going to capture in the heat of the moment. They're hot off the press. They're coming in. You're on a call with them, boom, and you're closing them right then. But what about everybody else? Right? What about the rest of them? And it is what process, what system, what machine is built inside that. And this is when you start talking about automations, text threads, emails, your CRM that's going to actually automate all of these things so that you're not, you or your team are manually doing this.
right. And I think we've got a whole episode we're talking about drip campaigns, which is the follow-up stuff, right, where it drips on people in it. And the biggest fallacy I would point out here is so many lawyers believe if they don't hire you that day, they went and hired somebody else, which is sometimes true, but a lot of times not true. And the same as if I go into the store and look at something and don't buy it today, that doesn't mean I went and bought a washer and dryer somewhere else. It means I just wasn't convinced or wasn't ready to buy then, or I wanted to think about it. Same with, hiring a lawyer. I mean, think about all the emotional things when you need a lawyer. Divorce, bankruptcy, criminal law. I mean, even I'm injured and somebody's catastrophically hurt, like in my case, right? You don't want to make the wrong decision. So it's not, so to assume that they're not going to hire you or they missed an appointment and they're not going to hire you is terrible. You're just wasting money.
Yep.
And I like I said, I had a friend who 20 years ago was a coach, and he talked about follow-up campaigns, and he even had a super simple one that I bought from him, put in my practice, and then a couple of years later I saw him and he goes, how's your follow-up stuff working? Great. What are you doing? How are you making it work? I'm using your stuff, dude. I just put it in place. So you definitely have to have that framework. What happens after you collect their information?
Yep.
I mean, 100%.
Look, Oh yeah. Well, the crazy part is what I talked about just a minute ago about having that organic content versus the paid, et cetera. A lot of this, right? Even this is statistically on the front side. The average person needs to see your ad 6 times before they click. 6 times.
Does
That's
that mean
the
they
average
wouldn't-
person.
So the sell is not going to necessarily happen on visit number 1, Trevor, is what you're saying.
No, not at all, right? So if you're literally leaving millions on the table if you're only going after that first contact. So having that follow-up sequence, it's the speed to lead. How quickly do you contact and how quickly do you keep them in your ecosphere, even if they're not a buyer today?
Yeah.
Right. And we've got whole episodes on lists that you can go listen to, and we talk about what you would actually do and how to do it. But the key is, right, having this part of the machine built so that it's sequencing in and giving you the drip that you may not get paid for it today, but you get paid on it. You know, you may sign them in 90 days. You may sign them in 3 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
because they may not be a client today, but they will be when shit goes sideways then.
And I would say too, have your drip campaign, then have a stay in touch campaign, right? And we'll talk more about that. But I mean, don't ignore that. That's a huge error I would say most people make in their stuff.
Yep. Yep. So last area of the machine, to kind of break it into 4 of them on today's episode at least, is the measurement, right? How are we measuring this, right? Why does it matter, Shane, that we measure any of this?
Because I mean, and I use a lot of vendors, and I'm going to say because vendors lie, right? Vendors lie, or also so you can make informed decisions. I mean, if you don't know, then there's you can't make any intelligent decisions. I had one campaign that was sending me a ton of leads, right? And they're like, yeah, we're kicking ass for you. Like, no, you're not, dude. You're sending me stuff out of state, and you're sending me stuff old, and I'm signing nothing. Basically, you're just burning my cash, right? And pay-per-click vendors can do this pretty easily, and a lot of other vendors can as well. And if you're not measuring, you don't know, right? And I'll talk about website guys. They'll measure different things. Then you have a meeting in a month, and they'll measure different things, and they'll measure different things in another month. So there's no consistency, so you can't tell whether they're doing good or not, right? And you got to figure out what matters to you in the measurement. Like I tell people, I argue with some of my vendors. They're like, well, by my stats, we're doing great. Well, that's not what I measure, and I told you that before. This is what I want to see. This was what I want to see. And next time we meet, I want to see it again. And next time we meet, I want to see this. I always want to see this. Or I'll even say, what? Let's agree together what we're going to measure. But it can't change.
No.
Because otherwise,
and
you don't know if you're winning and you don't know where you're spending your money.
Well, and you may be losing money, and that's the key part here. You don't even realize that, and it also throws a wrench. I don't like ad budgets. Like I don't even like the name, the term. Oh, here's my advertising budget. There shouldn't necessarily be a budget, right? Because if you're measuring correctly and you have sealed up every leak in the machine, there is no dripping, leads are not following through. So you have captured them all. It doesn't mean you're selling them all. It doesn't mean closing them all, but you know that they're not leaking out. They're telling you, they're giving you the middle finger when they walk away, meaning they're saying, hey, I'm not a buyer. But it's not that you didn't follow up. It's just that they chose out at this time. But inside of that, realizing that this is why I hate ad budgets, because if your ROAS, your return on ad spend, is higher, it costs you $1, you make $2. Every time you spend $1, you make $2. And you look at this and you look at your client acquisition costs, what's your cost per lead, what's your percentage of booked calls to sales calls, all of the metrics you need to know in order to figure this out. And you determine, right, that in that all of that measurement with no leaks in the boat, that, hey, this is like an ATM machine. Because every dollar I spend, I get 2 back. Well, what's my budget? As many dollars as I can possibly find. That's my budget. Because if I spend $2, now I got 4. If I spend $4, now I got 8. And it's this constant game. Now, I'm very aware that there is a cap and there becomes a limit at which you can't just keep spending more money.
I was going to say, and I'm also going to say there's a gap on how long your cash cycle is. And what I mean by that, from when somebody signs to when you get paid. Because in some areas of practice are super quick, right? Like crim law, boom, you get hired. Usually you get some cash. Bankruptcy, you get a deposit. Real estate, it's like 1 to 2 months kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different cycles that do play into that. Personal injury, it's a longer time, right? So you can it's not as easy as that, but you should on PI you should be when you've got something that works, you should be increasing it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's
as much as you can. You just got to do the math on how much you can increase it, how quickly.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. And obviously, I'm being facetious by saying there is no ad budget. Just fucking spend it all. Like,
But
that's
I would agree though. If stuff's working, why in the world would you just stop, right? And that's
Yes.
I'm a big growth-minded person. I want to grow my firm. I did grow it. I continued to double down, and our quote ad budget was really small in the beginning, and now it's not so small. Right? And
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, let's spend.
But
some
all
more
of
money.
that was determined off of metrics.
It was.
It's
Yeah.
what you measured and what you saw, and that's the key when you look at this. So, like when we wrap up episode 2 of this 3-part series on advertising today, really your action item, the thing you need to focus on is look at your machine, look at it from every angle, and just do an honest assessment. Where are you leaking? Where could a possible lead or a person, it's not even a lead because we're going to start even before that, meaning where's a person who is your avatar, who would sign with you, how are they not getting into your ecosphere? Where are you missing them from the very front? And then once they do raise their hand at some point, the machine that exists after that, right? After they've raised their hand, because we've got our broadcast ads. We're broadcasting a message. We're interrupting their world by saying, hey, look at me, and then coming all the way through your system. But that's the first place, because if your machine is leaking, then your effectiveness will always go down. Your return on what you're spending will always go down, and you're basically you're not going to make, you're losing money, and it's not a matter of spending more money. It's about fixing the broken parts of the machine so that you can be as efficient as possible, and then we spend more money.
Right. I was going to say, as I hammer through, yeah, it's probably you're not calling people fast enough, right? You're not responding quick enough, and you're probably not having any follow-up stuff. But I do want to make a distinction. We're talking mostly about ads and websites and SEO, all that paid advertising. But for those of you who don't do that, who do referral relationships, who do partnerships, all the stuff is the same. You've got your core messaging.
Yeah.
You've got why people do business with you. You've got your follow-up with your referral partners. You've got how quickly you respond to them. You've got an ad budget, even if it's when I go to dinner with them, when I take them out to lunch, or the time I spend towards them, or do we go to take them to an event once a year. So you've got some data in there, even if you've got a referral practice or a partnership type practice like that. It's just a little different, and it's just not just ads. But you're still going to need the website. You're still going to need the stuff for those clients they send you.
Well, it's actually all the same. I'm glad you pointed that out, Shane. It's literally exactly the same. It doesn't matter what the vehicle is on the front side. The process and the machine you build on the back side is identical. If I'm talking to a chiropractor, right, because I want a relationship, a referral partner, then I need to know who my chiropractor is. I need to know my avatar. I need to have my core message. My messaging needs to deliver to them. And then I have to have a way to capture them, pull them through. And maybe they're not a client today, but they're going to fit my machine. And I'm going to follow up, and I'm going to schmooze and wine and dine until eventually I've got a referral partner that we have a congruent, good relationship. It is. So great point, because you're right. There are some of you attorneys out there who have yet to bite the bug of, hey, I'm going to spend money in ads because you've built a business a different way. I'm always going to push you towards ads, everyone, because it's a way you can accelerate growth, even if it's ads towards your referral partners, right? I'm not even saying ads towards the leads themselves. It's like ads to a chiropractor, right? You're running some type of traffic that way, but that's just me. I'm an ad guy. I love running ads, so it's not the end all be all. But that brings us to the end of today's show. If you need help looking at where your marketing machine is broken, maybe you don't understand it. Maybe you're looking at this, you're like, dude, some of this all sounds great, but how on earth do I actually see the cracks inside of it? Same thing, if my air conditioner in my car is leaking, I'm not going to try to fix it myself. I'm going to drive my car into the mechanic, and I'm going to say, put your cool machine on it and tell me what the hell's wrong with it, right? We're the cool machine here at The Legal Edge, because this is what we can do, is dive in. We've been doing this for a long time. Obviously, Shane, your firm does very well. And we know how to do this. And so what we're offering is the opportunity to jump on a call with you and actually help patch the holes, or at least show you where the holes inside of your machine are, where you're weak and where you're strong. And not just in marketing, but in every side of your business. To get access to that, head over to legaledgecoaching.com. And you can jump right in there. We also have some free training on avatar training and kind of the core foundation that can make up your law firm there as well. So head over there, legaledgecoaching.com. Give us a like, a subscribe, a share on today's show if you got value from it, and give it to somebody who might also receive the same value that you got on it. But this brings us to a close on episode number 2 of our 3-part series on marketing. Have a fantastic rest of your day.